Well, here we are again. The other day I was out here in the garage trying to tighten up some loose ends I had around here, and one thing this boat didn't have when I got it is it didn't have any corners. And you see that a lot on these older aluminum boats. They all had these big corners that covered up all this trim and covered up the back and everything. A lot of them get broken or the screws come loose and they get lost. Anyway, this boat never had any when I got it. So I was out here in the garage and I was just goofing off, just seeing if I can make my own. I tried to find a place to order them, and the only ones I could find were all made out of plastic, and I wasn't about to put a plastic one on here. You may have seen in some of my other videos, I just recently got me a TIG welder, and I'm starting to teach myself how to TIG weld. I can do all the other types of welding, but TIG welding has always been something I wasn't very good at because of the fact that my hands shake a lot and I never really practiced with it. But I decided I'd give it a shot. Well, anyway, here's what I came up with. I made this little corner here, and it really wasn't that hard to make, but I made this corner, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and film me making my other one for the other side. Hopefully it'll turn out as good as this one did. I'm going to take my polisher rouge and I'm going to polish it all up when I get it done. Stay tuned. First, what I had was I had a bunch of scrap diamond plate I had from when I put the boat together to start with. It's a little bit over an 1/8 inch thick. It's really easy material to work with. It's thin enough that you can bend it and form it, but it's thick enough that it's pretty easy to weld and it's pretty rigid. But anyway, I had some that was 3.5 inches wide. And what I done was around here I have a lot of scrap steel that I make anchors out of. So let me see here. Alright, the first thing I've done when I made that one, hopefully this will turn out as good as that one did. I took a piece of this 1 3/4 solid steel that I had here. Well, this was an old spindle off of a conveyor belt. So it's got some keyway notches in it, which makes it perfect. Right here on this side, it's got a little notch cut inside of it. And I raised it up to where that notch was just a little bit above the side of this. And the reason why I've done that is because when you stick it in, I can actually get it in there and get it behind, and it locks it in place. Now, if I didn't have that little notch in it, I would just clamp this and this in the same time, and that way at least it can't move. And believe it or not, I just pretty much beat the crap out of it till it bent around. It don't take a whole lot. And you can see that got it started. Once I got it started, all I done was just kept rolling this and forming this until I got a nice smooth arch all the way around it. There we go. We got the basic rough shape bent right now, and then I'll massage it a little bit on this and get it perfectly round, and then we'll go and get the rest of it made up. Alright, I think that's perfect. That ought to work good. Now what I'll do is I'll clean this up and then get ready to make the other bend. Alright, so here's the side I'm making this trim for. And you can see that fits on there just about perfect. It's laying nice and straight across there. My plan right now is to have pretty much diamond plate all the way around the boat, even across the top of this, no carpet. So I got this piece made where literally it will set right on top of whatever diamond plate I put on there. That way I can have a nice clean trim edge. So that being said, I've got that hooked on there the right way right now. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and mark where this trim is right here. And then I'll clamp at my clamp and make my forward bend. Alright, so we got us a mark right there. I'll go ahead and clamp this in the vise and bend it until we can get the right angle on it. Alright, here we go. There's the mark I made. I went in and took my square and I made sure it was a perfectly straight line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp it in this vise right on that line. I mean, if I wasn't planning on trying to polish all this back out, I would put wood blocks on both sides of it, and that'd keep it from marring the surface. But my plan right now is to not really leave it as bare aluminum. My plan is to actually paint it, but I'm going to try to polish it out first with some polishing rouge, see how it does first. But my plan right now is to paint them, but I'm going to try to get them as close to perfect as I can. Alright, so we got her clamped in the vise. Same thing, we'll take that rubber hammer and we'll beat that thing over. I'm going to cheat since I've already made one. I'm going to use this one to kind of gauge how much I got to bend it. Alright. Just take your time and just kind of put a little pressure on it. That's probably pretty close. Just a little bit more. I'd say that's as perfect as it's going to get. Alright, let's go test it. There we go. It's hit perfectly down through here. It could have been maybe a tick looser, would have been okay, but I think right now we're in good shape. By the time you push that down, this is laying perfect down this side right here. It's going to work. Okay, see, here's what we got. It's laying right on that right there. I'm going to get that out of the way. When you level it off, see, there's no crack right up through here. It's laying tight and smooth against that right there. That's going to be perfect. Now we got to do is make the end cap right here, and that's the easy part. Alright, now that we've got the piece made, this is just an old piece of scrap I had laying around also. You notice I don't throw nothing away. So we're just going to put it right on top of that. Hold it. And mark what we got. So from right there to right there is that part of it. Got the inside marked. And what I'll do is I'll cut on the outside of that line because I want them to overlap. I don't want it to go inside of it. I want them to overlap it. It gives me a good strong corner to weld to. There we go. That's pretty much perfect. I'll go ahead and finish cleaning this up, and then it's time for welding. Gonna turn out nice. See how it's got. We'll try to grind it down to where I have about that much right there. About a heavy 1/16, light 1/8 all the way around. That'll give me a nice thick weld all the way around it. There we go. I got it all ground down and cleaned up. Got that little margin all the way around it. And that'll give me a good place to fill the weld in. Alright, we got her all tacked up. I'm ready to put the final welds on it. Turned out pretty good. There we go. There's the finished product. Like I say, it's a little dirty, but my plan is to polish this up anyway. I've already took my vibrating sander and kind of smoothed out the ridges. I just don't like the look of those ridges compared to this. It kind of took away from the diamond plate. I'll go ahead and sand this down with some 400 grit. Right now this is about 120 grit, so it's kind of rough. And you can see where I used the wire brush on it. It kind of dulled it, but I know I can get all that back nice and shiny. And if it don't shine up good, don't matter. I really planned on painting it anyway. But there's what we got. I think it turned out pretty nice. Nice and solid. Darn sure ain't gonna come apart. There we go. 2 finished corners. I think they're gonna look really good once I get them all polished out. Well, there we go. I hope it showed you that it really ain't that hard to do. If I can do it, anybody can for the most part. They turned out nice. Like I say, I gotta do a little bit more sanding to get this a little bit smoother before I try to polish them. But like I say, if they don't polish out, no big deal. I was planning on painting them anyway. They turned out really, really nice. Really, really solid. If I'd have made them out of smooth aluminum instead of this diamond plate, it'd been a whole lot easier in actuality. It'd been easier to weld it, and it'd been easier to take and sand it and polish it out. But I think the diamond plate's going to look good with all the diamond plate I have on this boat. Well, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you as always.